What two things help convert programs into binary language? What does the compiler do? Convert source code into bytecode. What does the interpreter do? Reads the bytecode produced by the compiler, converts it to binary machine language, and executes it. What is JDK? Java Development Kit takes care of the development, compilation, and execution of programs. Two main components: development tools and the JRE. What are the development tools provided by JDK? 1. The compiler produces Java bytecode conforming to the Java Virtual Machine specification. 2. The Java launcher helps in launching a Java application during execution. What is JRE? Java Runtime Environment, the environment where you develop and execute Java programs. Two main components: JVM and Java Standard Class Library. What is JVM? Java Virtual Machine enables the computer to run Java programs. Why does Java provide a standard class library? Java platform is not dependent on a specific operating system, and hence applications cannot rely on any of the platform native libraries. What is the Java Standard Class Library? Provides a set of standard class libraries containing functions common to modern operating systems. What is the extension for files of bytecode that the compiler creates? Class. What does the class loader within the JVM do? Loads all the class files needed for execution. What does the bytecode verifier within the JVM do? Checks code fragments for illegal code. What does the JIT compiler within the JVM do? Compiles reusable bytecode to machine code. What is a platform-independent program? A program written on a particular platform that can run on other platforms without any recompilation. Java is not platform-independent. False, it is. What is an identifier? Name given to a variable, method, or class to uniquely identify it. Primitive versus reference data types. Primitive holds the value of the object. Reference holds the reference to the memory location of the object. Integer data types in order: 1 double 2, long 3 int, and float 4 short. Which data types store whole number? Decimals, numbers, long, int, short, bidecimals, double, float. String is a primitive data type. False. String is a predefined class in the Java library. What are unary operators? Operators that act upon only one operand and perform operations. What are the arithmetic operators? Operators used to perform basic mathematical operations. What are relational operators? Operators used to compare two values. What are logical operators? Operators used to combine two or more relational expressions. What is a ternary operator? Operator used as a single-line replacement for if-then-else statements. Less than condition greater than, less than value if condition is true greater than, less than value if condition is false greater than. What is an assignment operator? Operator used to assign a value to a variable. What is a bitwise operator? Operator used to perform manipulation of individual bits of a number. What are the two types of data type conversion? 1. Implicit. 2. Explicit. What is the maximum value of short? What happens if it is surpassed 32,767? It goes to the minimum value minus 32,768. What data types are not supported by a switch block? Float and double. What is an example of an entry-controlled loop? While loop. Blank statement is used to skip a current iteration of a loop and continue with the next iteration. Continue. When can you use the break and continue keywords? Break for loops and switch cases. Continue only for loops. 4 advantages of OOP. 1. Modularity can create modules that do not need to be changed when an object is added. 2. Scalability makes development and maintenance easier because of modularity. 3. Data hiding provides security. 4. Ability to simulate real-life scenarios. What are reference variables? Local variables which store the address of another memory location of an object. The arguments passed while making the method call are known as blank parameters, and the arguments present in the method header are known as blank parameters. Actual, formal. What are local variables? Variables declared inside a method which have a scope only within the method. What happens when parameters are passed by value? What happens when parameters are passed by reference? Formal and actual parameters both refer to the same object and hence the same memory location. Changes made inside the method to the formal parameters are reflected in the actual parameters. What is a constructor? A special method that is used to initialize class variables at the time of object creation. What is the default type of string? Null. When a parameterized constructor is provided, Java will not create a default constructor. True. Why do we need this keyword? If the name of the instance variables of the class and the parameters passed in the constructor are the same, the local variables have more priority. What is this keyword? Reference variable that refers to the current object. When an object is created in memory, the memory is divided into two primary sections, stack and heap. What is the stack? Where all local variables and method invocations are stored. What is the heap? Where all objects and their instance variables are stored. Reference variables are also local variables. True. 3 steps in memory allocation. 1. The reference variable is created in the stack. 2. The objects is created in the heap. 3. The reference variable in the stack refers to the object in the heap. One reference variable can point to multiple objects at once, but one object can only be referenced by one single reference variable. False. One reference variable can point to only one object at a time, but one object can be referenced by multiple reference variables. What is memory leak? When a resource in a program is unreachable or not in use but the memory used by that resource is not deallocated. What is a garbage collector? It automatically deallocates memory used by unused resources to prevent memory leak. When does an object become eligible for garbage collection? When an object does not have any reference. 3 examples of when an object becomes eligible for garbage collection. 1. Reference variable gets initialized to null. 2. When the reference variable is initialized to a new object and there is no reference to the previous object. 3. When a reference variable is local to some method since it will be removed when the method finishes executing. Local variables are removed when a method finishes executing. True. What are getter and setter methods, also known as accessor and mutator methods, respectively? What is encapsulation? A way of restricting access to data hiding. What is abstraction? The process of exposing only relevant details. You just need to know the methods and the input parameters, but you don't need to know how the method is implemented. 4 access modifiers in Java. 1. Private, accessible only within its class. 2. Default, accessible from any class within the same package. 3. Protected, accessible from any class within the same package and to the subclasses in different packages. 4. Public, accessible from any class or package. What is a class diagram? A diagram that is used to visualize the different aspects of a class. What is an array? A collection of values of the same data type stored in contiguous memory locations and referred by the same name. 3 ways to create an array. 1. Data type array name equals E1, E2, N. 2. Data type array name equals new data type size. 3. Data type array name equals new data type size. Length is a method to get the size of an array. False. It is an attribute of an array. An array can store primitive and reference data types. True. How are values passed into the array of the main method? Using command line arguments either through the command prompt of your system or through the run configuration of your IDE. String is a predefined class in Java. True. 2 ways to create a string. 1. String literal string st equals hello. 2. Using new keyword string st equals new string. What happens every time a string literal is created? JVM checks the string constant pool. If the string exists, then a reference to it is returned. If it does not exist, then a new instance is created and placed in the pool. What is the string constant pool? Pool of strings stored in heap memory. What happens when you create a string with a new keyword? JVM places the literal in the constant pool and also creates a new string object in heap memory. The reference variable then points to the object in heap memory. Won't always make a new one in constant pool but always a new object in heap memory. What do source code analyzing tools do? Help in identifying violations in code. What is Pmd? Programming Mistake Detector source code analyzer tool in Java detects inefficient code using a set of rules defined in XML format. A static variable belongs to an entire class and not to a specific object. True. What is a static variable? A single copy of the variable is created and shared among all objects at the class level. Memory allocation for such variables happen only once when the class is loaded in the memory. What are member variables? The static and instance variables of a class. What are static blocks? Used to initialize static variables when it cannot be done in a single line. When do static blocks get executed? They get executed only once when a class gets loaded in memory. If multiple, they get executed in order. How should a static variable be accessed? Using the class name instead of the instant of the class X. Customer static var instead of customer1 static var. Why do we need static methods? Since a static variable is not specific to an object, you need a way to access the setter and getter methods without an object. A static method can access static and instance variables. False. A static method can only access static variables and cannot access instance variables. Non-static methods can access static variables. True. What is association? When one object makes use of another object for its functionality has a use as a relationship X. Driver uses a car, patient makes an appointment. How is an association portrayed in a class diagram? Either with a straight line or straight line with an arrow towards what is being used. What is aggregation? Exists between two classes when a reference variable of one class is a member variable in another class known as has a relationship X. Department has a manager, library has a book. How is aggregation represented in a class diagram? With a straight line and diamond head. A child class inherits all the non-private attributes and methods. True. How are parameterized constructors of parent class invoked? Using the super keyword. The call to a superconstructor does not have to be the first line in a child constructor. False. It does have to be the first line. 4 types of inheritance. 1. Single inheritance. One class is extended by only one class. 2. Multi-level inheritance. A class extends another class which extends another class. 3. Hierarchical inheritance. More than one class extends the same base class. 4. Multiple inheritance. One class extends multiple classes. 2 types of polymorphism. 1. Static polymorphism. 2. Dynamic polymorphism. What is static polymorphism? Method overloading. Allows the programmer to have multiple methods with the same name in the same class but differing in their signature. 3 ways methods can differ in signature. 1. Number of parameters. 2. Data type of parameter. 3. Order of parameters. We cannot overload methods by the return type. That is, 2 or more methods are not overloaded if they differ only in the return type. True. What is dynamic polymorphism? Method overriding. Allows the programmer to have a different implementation of parent methods with the same signature in the child classes. Can private methods be overridden? No. When overriding, a method should not have a weaker access modifier than its parent method. True. What is dynamic binding? When a parent class reference variable refers to a child class object only, overridden and class child methods can be used. Instance variables of class will be used. Static methods can be overridden. False. Static methods will be called based on the type of reference used. True. What is an annotation? An information for the compiler or JVM and provides additional meaning to the code. Avoid errors. Three things a super keyword is used for. 1. Invoking the parent class constructor. 2. Invoking a parent class method. 3. Accessing a parent class instance variable if they have the same name. Only one annotation can be provided per method. False. You can have multiple annotations for one method. What is the implicit superclass of all classes? The object class. 3 methods provided by object class. 1. ToString2 equals 3. Hashcode. What does the hashcode method do? Uses an object's memory address to generate a hash value, which should be a 32-bit integer. It is possible for two unequal objects to have the same hash codes. True. The primitive data types in Java do not inherit the object class as they are not classes. True. What are wrapper classes? Wrapper classes are classes that allow primitive types to be accessed as objects. How can you force child classes to implement important methods defined in the parent class? By using the abstract keyword. Any class extending this abstract class must provide the implementation of the abstract methods. True. What is an abstract method? A method without any definition. Concrete classes which extend an abstract class don't need to implement all the abstract methods. False. They must implement all, or they should be made abstract as well. A class can be made abstract even without any abstract methods. True. Abstract classes can be instantiated. False. They cannot. Abstract methods enforce overriding. True. Where is the only place we can initialize a blank final variable? In the constructor, or else there will be compilation error. How are final variables represented in a class diagram? In all caps. What is an interface? An interface is a class that only includes method signatures. The methods are not implemented in the interface. Another class must be created to supply the implementation. The methods declared in an interface are implicitly public and abstract, and the data fields are implicitly public, static and final. True. What is used to simulate multiple inheritance in Java? Interfaces. What happens if the class that implements an interface does not implement all specified methods? It will force you to make these methods abstract, and therefore your class will become abstract. Since Java 8, an interface can also have default and static methods. True. 3 ways to import a package. 1. Import package. 2. Import package class name. 3. Using a fully qualified name package class name. The name of the package must be the same as the directory under which the file is saved. True. What happens when you put a generic catch block at the beginning or middle of all the other catch blocks? If you will try to place the generic catch block at any other place of the catch blocks, then it will result in a compilation error. What are the 2 different types of exceptions? 1. Checked exceptions. 2. Unchecked exceptions. What is a checked exception? An exception that occurs at the compile time. What is an unchecked exception? An exception that occurs at runtime. What happens when we use the final keyword on variables, methods, and classes? Variable becomes a constant that cannot be changed once initialized. Method cannot be overridden in child classes. Class cannot be extended or subclassed. Why do we use the throws keyword? If a method does not handle a checked exception, the method must declare it using the throws keyword. A single try block must be followed by at least one catch block or finally block. True.